Hi, guys. Welcome to Bare Conversations, a vulnerable space for real people and their real faith. My name is Daniela. I'm the host of this podcast, and I make videos every week about different topics that I personally find interesting. And also, I share personal stories that are centered around self-improvement and self-help, because I think being your best self is the biggest gift you can give yourself. Today's episode is called Modeling Others. In this episode, we're just going to put like a magnifying glass on the concept of copying people, having role models, and the way culture as well as trends and people and different things in our vicinity influence us, and how that actually shows up in our lives, and whether it's helping us or doing us a disservice. So if that sounds interesting to you at all, please continue to watch, and we'll get straight into it. Thank you. So as I've grown up, I've actually realized that I find it very easy to copy other people, model their lives, and assume that it will work for me. But I learned very quickly as well as I've gotten older that the way people live really might not align with me, and that has hurt me in more instances than actually helped me. It's left me in places where I've been frustrated that I'm not getting the same results, so I'm not achieving the same success, so I'm not um, getting getting the same opportunities as the people that I'm actively listening to and copying. And I think this is quite a common experience for a lot of us. We may not be willing to admit it, or we may have never actually thought about it, but then that's why I brought it to the table. That's why I've brought it that let's actually think about it. Let's kind of discuss. So first of all, let's talk about it. Why do we actually model other people? What makes us feel the need to copy, and why does it happen to us so naturally? Well, I guess from one aspect, it's the whole concept of belonging, like actually wanting to have your own group, having a sense of community. That is a very easy and straightforward way in which we actually start to model other people, just because we kind of want to fit in. And I mean, can you blame anyone for wanting to fit in? Other times we copy other people because it just feels a little bit safer. It feels safer to do what has been tested and proven to actually work than to be our authentic, messy, and confused selves. It feels safer when you copy someone who's already popular. It feels safer when you have the mannerisms that everyone else has. It feels safer to show up as another copy of what's already popular than to actually show up as something completely different, and to do that unapologetically. And another thing is that sometimes it's actually just down to immaturity. It's just as you're growing up, figuring out who you are and figuring out what you like and figuring out what is unique about you is actually quite difficult. So you probably don't want to take the time, like you don't feel like you have to, you don't feel that it might be important, or no one actually told you that who you are in itself is very valuable, so therefore you should actually take the time to get to know who that person is. And also it could be fear. I that's my personal experience, like the fear to show up and to be questioned or to be mocked or to be ostracized because you're different. I don't blame people for trying to fit in at all, because it can be a difficult experience when you're trying to stay true to yourself, but every little thing is questioned, like, oh, why are you wearing this, or why do you listen to that kind of music? And it all comes with some form of judgment that makes you feel rejected. So fear does definitely play a part when it comes to why we tend to model other people. But when does modeling other people actually start to be a bad thing? Like, when should we actually start questioning that? Should I really be doing this? Well, from my experience, it's when it stops, or maybe you realize that it actually never was life giving. It At no point did you ever feel like settled and safe in this persona that you've created. Um, Probably again when you're realizing that you're not getting the same results as said person. And then it could also be like you probably don't feel at peace. It feels like every time you leave the house there's a mask you're wearing. It feels like you have to keep up with whatever image you've already created. And specifically from my experience, sometimes people actually pre-decide who you are, and then you just tend to model what they've told you. And it gets exhausting. Like, I remember going out with friends or going to certain places and acting like what was expected of me rather than who I was. Like laughing at jokes I actually didn't think are funny. Um, Having conversations or agreeing to things that I actually didn't really agree with, just to kind of maintain some level of peace or at least unison. But every time I did that, every time I walked into a room with a persona, I always left that room feeling exhausted, feeling tired, feeling sometimes really ashamed of myself, because I didn't know who I was there. And I had done it for so long that it felt like there was no way out. There was no way to actually start changing the image people had of me or changing the expectations people had of me. So I kind of felt trapped in a persona just because of things I couldn't control, like the color of my skin, the country I was from. People just assumed the most basic stereotypes. And I kind of modeled that because it felt safer than breaking the mold. And sometimes the modeling others actually comes with some benefits, so you don't actually realize it's a problem. In my case, it's when I actually started going to the gym for the first time. And I did the basic stuff, like I was buying the leggings, I bought the protein shakes, I was into the same type of brands that everyone else was. I was following the same type of like influencers and doing the plans. So I was very disciplined in my going to the gym. Like I'd wake up at 6 a.m., I'd do the full workout. I was doing everything correctly, but it just wasn't me. It just wasn't aligned. So although the discipline and the modeling of other people came with its benefits, I still felt tired. And like after a year, I think I just crashed because I was forcing myself to fit into a mold that wasn't really me. What I was choosing to model, what the people I was choosing to follow, and the lifestyles I was choosing to copy just were not aligned with the type of person I was, and it ultimately was not healthy for me. You might have started to notice what I'm actually alluding to, that copying others necessarily isn't the problem. The problem is misalignment. It's you're doing the right things but for the wrong reasons. You're showing up in the right places but not as the right person. You're with good people but you're not aligned. And just because something is wise or is good in its essence, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you or is the right thing that you should be doing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this anyway. Do you think like modeling another person can be done at the expense of who you are regardless? Because sometimes who we are at present actually might not be the best version of ourselves. So it does feel like this person you've modeled now, this person that you are copying and you're learning habits from, being them is a massive improvement of where you started from. And that is probably the case. Like that was the case for me, from not exercising at all to exercising a lot. But just copying and pasting is actually the easy way out. Learning to learn yourself is actually the correct way to model people properly. We're all so uniquely and wonderfully made. God has said that He knitted us in our mother's womb even before we took a step on this earth. So He knew us and He understood the uniqueness of all of us, as well as He has deposited multiple extraordinary talents and personalities and traits in all of us. And it's a shame if we actually don't give them a go. It's a shame if we don't take the time to develop them and added to the world. It's something that I'm personally still learning and something that I'm investing wholeheartedly in. I think it's hard when you've got different cycles that you're learning to break and you're struggling still with boundaries and stuff. But there is opportunity in everything that we do and in every decision that we make where we can actually question, is this right for me? Is this the way I should go? Will this improve my sense of self? Will this make me feel at peace? Will this grow the character that's uniquely in me? Thank you so much for listening. Today was a bit of a shorter episode. I just felt like I wanted to get straight to the point, and encourage you, as well as give you permission, if that's what you've been seeking, to be you and be yourself in all forms that might be. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe / follow me on my socials. I'd really love to connect with you more and have more conversations, and see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.